Hello there, everybody, and a very happy Friday to you all. I'm really excited to be here with you today for another live here at Arden Creative Studio. My name is Sarah, and today I've got some really beautiful papers to work with. We're going to do a little bit of scrapbooking and a lot of different techniques on one album page, but I'm super excited because I'm playing with the brand new collection from Katie Pertit called Field Notes, and it is so beautiful. I can't wait to share this with you. I know lots of folks have already got their copies of this collection and have been enjoying them already. So it'll be a lot of fun to hear what other people are doing with these paper packs and laser cuts and ephemera pieces plus ephemera rolls and PET tape. So, some really exciting things to play with today. So, welcome to everybody as you are jumping in. Fiona is backstage and she's going to be posting in links into the chat, into the comments, and then you can click on through and see for yourself this gorgeous collection. But I'll walk us through a little bit too. So I'm going to hold up the album page that I want to show you today. We've got some glare of the light on there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of different techniques involving pattern papers, using ephemera, and how you can alter or personalize the PET tape accents. Hi, Avril. Nice to see you. So what I'm going to do now is flip down our view so that you can see the album page and we can kind of walk through this a little bit before we get into the demo. So I've got a single page spread here for us with two floral photos, which just worked perfectly with this beautiful paper collection. And so what I want to talk about today in terms of techniques is mixing two patterned papers. Although this paper, I'm sure, probably looks like it's a solid color, it's actually, let me pull out the sheet here. It's actually one that's got this beautiful faux texture to it. And so you've got, it almost looks like it's got some paint marks on here. Really nice light and dark tones of this gorgeous blue-green here. So mixing and matching pattern papers, they can be obviously patterned like this plaid or more subtly patterned like this beautiful faux texture. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk about using some of the ephemera rolls here. We'll talk about using the PET tape with alcohol markers and also to use the tape as a tape to hold things down, like I've got a little piece right here. And then also, I'm just going to point out too, what to journal when there is no story, specifically when there is no event or occasion. Maybe it's just a couple of flower photos that you really happen to like and want to create a scrapbook page from. So we'll highlight all of those various things as we get into our album page. So nice to see people as they're jumping in. I see that Susan has joined, and I think I may have missed a couple of earlier comments. Oh, Dawn is here. Nice to see you then too. Dawn's asking about the new glue pen, and I think Fiona is going to give some info there too. Alrighty, so let's get into the page itself and we can start talking about those patterned papers. So let me show you the collection I'm working with. So here's the Field Notes. This is the 12 by 12 collection, and you can see all of the paper designs here on the front cover. Now, I have gotten into this collection, so a lot of the pages have been pulled out. This is just a gorgeous set. Double-sided, of course. So you've got, like, for example, this beautiful floral design. On the other side, you've got some gorgeous distressed text. This happens to be one of my favorite patterns in the collection, too. I think this is just absolutely beautiful. I love the collage style. And then you've got a nice plaid that goes on the other side. Oops, all of my little snippets of paper that I tucked in here. collage designs, overall patterns. Oops, there's that one again, as well as sheets with these cutouts. So these are really easy to cut apart with your paper trimmer, and there are some smaller ones and some larger ones as well, which can be used as journaling, or you can add your own. And of course, they're double-sided, so you've got some different options here. So this is with the patterned paper collection, full of lots of beautiful designs. And then to go along, there's the other patterned paper collection, which is all of the faux texture designs. Now, this is also a 12 by 12 set, and you can see how they are grouped by color, but this is more of that beautiful faux texture. So again, you've got this sort of, I just think of it as like a paint stroke, like with a really wide paintbrush. That's on one side, and then you have a tone-on-tone dot on the other side. And then you've got these in lots of different colorways in here, the blues, the greens, pink, and yellow. This is super useful as a background for your photo mats, lots of different things that you can do with this. And of course, there are coordinating ephemera sets. There are 2 sets, and we'll talk about these as well, but I'll flip this over and you can see what's included in them. So the ephemera pack here, you can see lots of nice big words as well as some smaller ones, frames. In the other collection, you've got some additional labels and some kind of file folder type designs, as well as some larger words in there too. So you've got the ephemera pack, and then you have the page makers, both to go along with field notes. As well, there is a pack of laser cuts, and these are just so beautiful and so easy to use. Again, you've got your collection here on the front, and you can see how intricate and delicate these are. They just pop right out of that background sheet. Lots of butterflies, which are really nice to use on pages, cards, just about anything. Then in addition, there is an ephemera rolls box. So there are 3 different designs included in here. And then the PET tapes, which I may accidentally call pet tapes because that's what's stuck in my head. But this also contains 3 rolls. So we'll talk more about these and how to use them too. So let's start, first of all, with our patterned papers. And I'm going to bring in these 2 sheets that I'm working with. So when I'm combining the 2 patterned papers, if you look just at this plaid over here, you've got a lot of different shades in here that you can use. So there's a white that's kind of got some, almost looks like a little bit of texture going on with that white as well, if you look closely. There's some light green, and then there's this really beautiful kind of dark gray, dark blue, light gray going across this way. So when you're mixing and matching with your pattern papers, of course, you can contrast or you can match with these. And I decided to go with that teal color, which just looks really nice together. And I've got a torn edge going along here. So I wanted to show you this maybe with another one of the sheets in the collection, which is also one of my favorites. This beautiful all over floral design. And from here, I could pull out lots of different colors, from the pinks to the blues, yellows, and greens. But if I wanted to add in, again, one of those faux texture colors, I could use the green to create a border here. But look how different this will look between the green and the yellow. There isn't one that's better than the other, but I think it's really cool to see how different those different colors can look. And then if I want to add a torn edge, I can simply tear this like so. Now I could tear against a straight edge like a ruler, or I could sort of freehand it. But you'll notice as I'm tearing that the portion I'm tearing towards me is going to have the colored edge. The portion that will stay on the table will have a white edge. And that white edge does act a little bit like a mat in between the 2 colors. So it separates those 2 patterned papers. So then I've got my green design on here as well. So this could go really nicely as my side border, or I could put it down at the bottom. That would also be pretty. Or I could do it up at the top. So again, lots of different options there, just mixing and matching those two different pattern papers. When you've got an all over bold design, and then you've got something a little bit more subtle, I suppose, with that faux texture, really makes it easy to create an instant layout. So that's what I've done for my background page here. And I've trimmed this down a little bit smaller than 12 by 12. And I'll bring this back in again so that you can see. I really like having the cardstock as a base of my page. And this is just something that I think adds a little bit more of a frame around the outside edge there. And so I put this onto a piece of Thunder cardstock, which is this beautiful dark gray. Hi, Amber. I see that Amber's popped in too. Nice to see you, Amber. And I've chosen the gray because, again, I'm picking out this kind of blue-gray here in the plaid. And this looks really nice together. But then I also wanted to show you how it would look on granite. That's also a nice combination. So a lighter, less of a total coordination with that stripe, but another option. You can see the difference between the two of those. You could actually use both of them too, if you wanted to do some double matting on there as well. Choice is yours, but I went with the Thunder cardstock, which is the darker of the two. And I've trimmed this down and then added my photos in the center. And the photos I picked were photos that I took last summer, actually. And I've got this really pretty bright yellow flower and the pink flower here too. Now, I am not a gardener. These are not flowers that I have grown or taken care of at all. They're in my mother's garden. And I just thought they were really pretty. They were on my phone camera roll. And so I thought this would be perfect for this collection. So although I don't have any, really introspective journaling to add to this, I just thought it worked really nicely for a page to kind of celebrate spring. And I have to say, the weather has warmed up here where I live, but we have a lot of snow and cold and wind lately. And so it's just really nice to be working with brighter colors and some flowers. So that's what I've added in here. And I've matted these photos onto the bright white cardstock from Arden. So I've got some nice contrast in there, and that's coordinating with the white in the plaid back there. So I could have my photos on here. They're overlapping a little bit, meeting right in the center. I could add my journaling down at the bottom and call it good. This would be fine. But I wanted to add in some more embellishments. So I'm going to bring back in my page here, and you can see I've got these two strips going along the edge. Now, these are from the Ephemera roll set. So let's have a look at what's inside this little box. Inside here, there are 3 rolls. Let's just go ahead and get them all out. And Ephemera rolls are just what they sound like. It's a roll of ephemera. So have a look. If it's a continuous roll, repeating pattern, you can see from this orange to this orange piece up here. But you've got butterflies, you've got florals, you've even got some space here. You could add stamping or writing on here, or you could add in another layer of a different embellishment. So you've got a lot going on here. Now, these are not self-adhesive, so you can also easily add them up with foam tape if you want to. You can cut this with scissors, or you can, just like we did with the background paper, just tear off a piece. And that's what I did just to tuck underneath my photo. So there's this wide roll, and then there is a roll of postage note designs, and these are all perforated so that you can easily pull those apart to separate them. Each one is unique. They're just beautiful. Also a repeating design. Some will be vertical, some will be horizontal, so you can mix and match that as well. They're absolutely beautiful, really beautifully detailed, and of course, matching perfectly with our overall design. So those are the two colored ones from the collection. And then there is one roll included that is black and white, which means that you can use this as a black and white, just as it comes right out of the box, again, perforated. So you can easily separate these. You can also, of course, alter them. So you can color in lots of these open images. The butterflies are just asking to be colored in either with a marker or colored pencils would do, or again, use it black and white. And that's what I did here, just to simply tuck this in underneath my photo. And I angled mine a little bit like so, kind of going along even with the edge of my photo. Just place that right on there. And of course, because they're not adhesive, I'm going to need to use some adhesive to glue those down in place. And then I've got some nice balance here created on my page. And I'll show you again how I've done that. Just tucking those underneath here. I've also got this large journaling piece up here at the top. And I think this is so lovely. Now, this is, again, one of the pages from the 12 by 12 paper pack that has all of these cutouts, and some large ones, some small. You can, of course, do your own journaling on here. You could add rub-ons. You could add the laser cuts. You could add your ephemera roll on top. You'll notice, again, how perfectly everything coordinates. And for me, I just decided to cut this piece down and add it to my page just as is, with a little bit of inking around the outside edge. I'm going to grab my craft mat, which I've got taped onto another cutting board so that I can move it around. And I wanted to do a little bit of inking around the outside edge of this, just to give it a bit of a matte here. So I'm using my trusty mustard dye-based ink from Hunky Dory. This is a really nice basic light brown, and I'm taking a blending brush here. So I'm going to pick up just a little bit of that ink onto my brush and moving from my craft mat onto the paper. I'm just going to do a gentle, even kind of circular motion here. So I'm not plonking my brush right on here. That can lead to a brush-shaped splodge of ink, but I want this to be a lot more subtle. I'm just going to be working around the outside edges here and pick up a little more ink as I go. And this will give me a really nice kind of shadow effect around the outside edge. And then it will help to separate between the cutout itself and the background paper. So it's also nice to be able to have a little bit of definition between your background paper, especially if it's heavily patterned or boldly patterned, and whatever you have as your accent piece. So you can see that inking around the outside edge creates a really nice shadow effect, but then I've also got the line of that mustard going along the outside edge. So move this out of the way and bring back in my partial layout here. So if I've got my background paper on here, I've got my two photos and my ephemera. Nothing's glued down yet. I always like to assemble all of my elements before attaching anything down. Then I can kind of tuck this underneath here and have this overlapping, have my ephemera overlapping a little bit. So then I've got my my title, if you will, of my page, my ephemera accents, my photos on here. What's next? Well, I've also got another little accent up at the top corner, which is up here. Now, this is one of the file folders, and this is from the Ephemera pack. So again, having a look at our different Ephemera packs. This is from the just the plain Ephemera pack, not the page makers. You can see that there are 3 file folders included in here. They're really nice size. They can be used as is or they can be altered. And the one that I used was the lightest patterned one. And I've just tucked that underneath there. But on top of that, I have one of the PET tape accents. So let's have a look at those. And we can talk a little bit about how to use these. These are a lot of fun. Also, 3 rolls included in here. And I forgot to mention, for both the Ephemera as well as the PET tape, you get 5 meters. So you've got a lot included in here, which is nice because if you're like me, you find lots and lots of different uses for it. So you got your black strip, your black stripy strip like this. And these are, as the name tape will imply, these are self-adhesive. So you just need to peel and stick, but you can alter these as well. So this is a really cool one. It's got this kind of scuffy, distressed, stripy effect. Then you've got your postage. And this again kind of has a film strip, a postage appeal to it. So another nice distressed look. And then you've got your kiss cut elements. You can see that I've removed some already here, but this is where you've got your words, butterflies, floral accents, a lot of really cool different things to play with. And I've pulled out some and put them onto just a plain piece of white cardstock. They look beautiful as is, but you can also add color to them with alcohol markers. And you want to use alcohol markers rather than a dye-based marker because this is an acetate, it's a plastic, which means that it's non-porous. So you need something that will be compatible with that. So any of your alcohol markers, they have a lot of different brands, from Copics to Spectrum Noir. Altenew has some. So you've probably got some in your stash. And all you do is just color them in after you've applied them to your paper. So let's have a look at this flower image here. And there's really no trick to it. You can do some shading and some accenting if you want to, but you can just also simply color the image in. And what's nice is you can personalize this to any of your color combinations. That's with a nice bright pink. We can add a little bit of green in here for the leaves and the stems. And I love having something that you can personalize so easily and quickly. So you can go from black and white to colored immediately. I have to say though, I do really like them as black and white too. So I think the designs are gorgeous just as they are. You can also use alcohol inks. So if you've got the little bottles of Ranger ink, those work nicely too. These do each have like a little bit of a halo around the outside edge as the sticker. So this, with the markers, I think this gives you a little bit more precision in terms of staying inside the lines. But if you want the outside the lines look, then your alcohol inks and one of the applicators, the foam applicators, will also color these really nicely too. Let's see, we'll add in a lighter color here. So you can start to see it's just super simple to be able to add a little bit of color and personalization in here. Immediately. So fast and easy as well. Now, with the words, these are really easy to use too. Let's see, I'll take the blue. And no, maybe not the blue because I did the blue before. Let's look at the green again. And this, again, just follow along the lines. You can do kind of a scuffy fill in or fill it in really precisely. You can go outside the lines. It is totally up to you. And of course, you can also cut the individual letters apart if you want to too. So lots of different ways that you can incorporate the kiss cut images as well as the tape images into your work. So here's also a strip of that kind of scuffy stripe effect so that you can color those. You could color in between each of those lines a little bit differently. With the post, or I keep calling them postage mark, but it's almost like a film strip design. You can see here, you can isolate out some of those images as well and color those differently too. So these are just a lot of fun to work with. Let's see, I'll just pop this down here. And you can see some of the illustration in there. It's really detailed, absolutely beautiful. So if you have a look there at that little butterfly in there, or the butterfly here, what you could do, let's see, this one has lots of shades of the same color. You could just simply color one or two elements in the overall design. So you don't have to color the entire thing, the entire design. But have a look, like with this butterfly, she spans both of those lines. So I think, again, so many options to create some really beautiful looks quickly and easily. And I'm willing to guess that many of the crafters watching probably have a stash of alcohol markers in their crafting stash. And if you store them so that they're laying flat, these will last you a really long time. So I've got some markers that I've had, gracious, for years and years and years. So take good care of your supplies and you'll find that they last you a long time. And it's great because something like this gives me the inspiration to pull out some tools and supplies that I maybe haven't used for a while, like these markers, like my alcohol inks. So this has been a lot of fun to play with those as well. So I've got one of the floral elements, this really pretty botanical, up here at the top corner. So I've kind of tucked my file folder underneath both my journaling piece as well as this photo. And here's where you can see where that inking around the edge of the bloom piece really creates some differentiation between the photo mat and this file folder here. So I've applied the Kiss Cut image on here and then colored there. And then I've got another piece down here on my journaling. So as I mentioned with the photos that I've included on my page, I didn't have an occasion or a theme that I was really going for. It was just some really pretty flowers, and they happened to be taken in summer of last year. And it was when I went to visit my family in Oregon. So that's really all the journaling that I had here. I don't have anything, more insightful to add to this. Sometimes you deal with your journaling and sometimes it's just, name and place. So a little bit about the journaling here. I've done some computer journaling and I like to use a typewriter font for this. So I've centered that journaling. And when I do this, when I'm trying to figure out the layout of my page, like where things are going, how much room I have for things, I generally will do what I've done with my page over here, which is kind of trying to assemble all of the parts and pieces that I know I want to include or that I need to include. And then I sort of see where I've got room for journaling. And I have to tell you, the first time I was working on this page, I thought, oh, I'll handwrite it down at the bottom. But there's something with handwriting, and when I need to actually do it on a page, I'm never happy with the way it looks. So I do tend to resort to computer journaling a lot in cases like that. So that's what I've done. And I figured I've got a little bit of space down there. and I can fit it in with just a small square, a small rectangle of my journaling. So what I generally will do is type up and print out my journaling onto a piece of scrap paper. And then I can see like how much room I can accommodate for anything else. And then I just thought, oh, that hello word on there would be great. So I printed this out again, also onto the bright white cardstock, which I find works really nicely. It's a nice weight and it runs through my home printer really well. I do not have a fancy printer. It's can be a little bit temperamental sometimes. And sometimes with really heavy cardstock, it decides to rebel against me. But in the case of this cardstock, it cooperates very well. So I'm happy about that. So I run it through my computer printer and then I can figure out, okay, do I want to add something around the outside edge? And so I've got my word hello on here. And again, that is from our roll. So here you can see those nice, beautiful images from the botanicals. You've got the word sweet, you've got the word hello, and you've got the word this. And then, of course, your other images on there. So from here, I just need to pull off my hello. Which is always easier said than done. There we go. And then position this right above my journaling. And then from there, I can leave it black and white if I wanted to. But in this case, I decided to do some coloring on here. And it's just as easy as that. And from here, once I've got the coloring all done, then I can either cut or die cut my journaling. And I die cut it. I have some rectangle cutting dies that just work really nicely. So I could do my journaling or with my PET tape. I could add that before or after I die cut. Doesn't really matter which way you want to go. Personal preference. And then I've got my piece ready to add to my page. So I'm just going to finish my O here. So when I've die cut this, I've then added it to my page and I've used that PET tape almost as an adhesive. So it's glued down here for the rest of the page, but then I've got this piece up here at the top. And I want to show you this too, because this is a really fun way to use those tapes as well as, guess what, tapes. So here's one of the ephemera pieces from our collection. And then with our really cool distressed stripy tape here, you can simply cut off a piece. And this cuts really nicely with your scissors too, by the way. And just add this right onto your surface. So you can either have this functioning as a flap, maybe you have something going on underneath here, another photo or more journaling, or you could glue the piece down totally and have it secured really well in place. You could also, of course, add another piece of that tape down at the bottom, or you could grab another one of the smaller images here. There's some like little postmarks, little heart-shaped postmarks that can also get added to the bottom to secure it down in place too. So lots of different options with the PET tapes, and I think it's really great. It's a fun way to combine those different elements together. And because everything is coordinated, you know it's all going to go together. And then also on the page, a couple of other things I want to point out are the laser cut accents. So I've got a butterfly down here at the bottom, and the butterfly is, of course, from the laser cut collection. You got lots of different butterflies in here, and I've added one with foam tape. Just have a look. So pretty. Now, they are double-sided, which means not so much with the butterflies, but with lots of the other elements here, you'll have the option kind of which direction the element is going to go. So let me pull this out here. For example, with our botanicals, which are kind of growing or positioned to go in one direction, because they're double-sided, you can determine which direction you want to have those bending, which is really nice if you're using the element to sort of point into a certain part of your layout. And these, again, they just pop right out of that backing sheet, just like so. And then you can easily add them onto your page or onto your card. Okay, let's bring this back in. And I've got one other piece that I want to mention to you too, which is up here at the top where it says the simple things. Now, there were a lot of different sentiments that I could have chosen. These are from the Field Notes PageMaker set of ephemera. And there are a lot of different accents included in here. That's the set here. And you've got lots of the larger words, but also lots of the smaller ones too. So everything from, let's see, this one is always growing. That would be perfect too. Plant, grow, bloom is another sentiment. Bloom with grace. Really versatile sentiments. Now, these could go for a card that you're sending to somebody, an encouragement card, birthday card, congratulatory card, or they can go for your scrapbook pages that are just some pretty flower photos that you happen to take. So that's what I've got up here. Now, this is popped up with some foam tape to give a little bit of extra dimension. So let's have a look again back at our page with all of the various parts and pieces on here. So again, I've got my torn background paper combination together here. And then I have my two photos. So I've got my bright yellow and my bright pink, and I've done a little bit of overlapping here and overlapping between those, the division between the two patterned papers. And then I can tuck this kind of underneath like so. I have my ephemera strip, which is torn top and bottom. I have my black and white ephemera piece tucked underneath like so. Then I've got my journaling down at the bottom, my journaling square. I've got my butterfly laser cut piece here, and then I've got my little sentiment going along the edge up at the top. Also that little file folder that's tucked underneath there. So once I've kind of got all of my elements figured out where I want them to go, that's when I glue everything down and then secure it to that cardstock in the back as my background. So then we've got a page that looks like this. So I've got a couple of portrait style photos. And then to balance that out, of course, I've got my rectangular journaling, my title, page title, as well as my written journaling down here. So I've got some balance going on there. And then those nice long strips with the ephemera rolls and counterbalanced with a little bit of ephemera top and bottom there too. So we have gone over mixing pattern papers, using our ephemera rolls, using the PET tape with alcohol markers, and hopefully giving a little bit of inspiration with the journaling, especially when you've got pages and photos that don't really have a specific theme, meaning like it's not someone's birthday or it's not someone's, it's Christmas or something like that, where you can incorporate photos that are your just because photos and maybe just have a lot of fun enjoying some patterned papers with a warmer theme to kind of warm you up from those long, cold winter months, especially the ones that we've had. I think Susan had mentioned too. Oh, in Appleton, Wisconsin, Susan has says you're supposed to get up to 50 degrees. Oh, and then back to the 20s and 30s. Well, that's that's exciting. It's like you have all of the coats and sweaters on hand, ready to go, right? So, oh, and Susan is also looking forward to this collection. Oh, you get yours tomorrow. She's ordered it and she will be ready for a very fun weekend, I think. So, I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend as well. Hopefully, you get a chance to do a little bit of crafting yourself. If not with the Field Notes collection, hopefully with some other wonderful crafting supplies. I really do appreciate you joining me today. I hope you had a lot of fun. I know I did. This collection has just been so much fun to work with and very inspiring to see what other people are doing with it too. I know Avril mentioned that she's got hers, and I'm keen to see what you're doing with it too. So if you have the Field Notes collection, if you've been playing with it, let us know what you've been doing. We would love to see. I'm nosy. I like to see what other people are doing with their crafting supplies. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will catch you again in another couple of weeks. Do take care. Thank you, Fiona, for being our backstage manager and popping in all of those links. Don't forget to leave a comment, and we will pop back in to make sure that all of those comments and questions are answered. In the meantime, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again very soon. Bye bye.